Hello class. Today's lecture we'll be discussing dualistic symbolic inversion, or what I call DSI for short. We're going to go ahead and define that right here. So DSI is the inversion of meaning caused by imbalance between complementary forces, resulting in a distorted perception where reality is interpreted upside down. Okay. Now, there are four principles for interpreting DSI. The first one being symbols and archetypes are the primary governing forces behind patterns of behavior. I'm going to go ahead and put this quote here too by Carl Jung, stating how the archetypes are the real decisive forces and how they bring about the real events. Okay. The next rule here is that the Greek language has the best etymology for understanding the symbols and archetypes. And also too, if you did not know this, the Greek word for archetype means original pattern, kind of tying in with the first rule here. And while I was trying to research a quote by Jung about the Greek language, because he spoke Greek, if you guys didn't know that, I couldn't find anything specific. But this YouTube video did pop up, kind of like a synchronicity, and I thought I'd show you that clip there, so we'll go ahead and do that.
James Hillman said, well, Jung said first, and then James Hillman, when they talked about this, the idea of the return to Greece. And the idea is that when the center feels like it's collapsing, when the center feels like it's no longer going to hold, go back to Greece. And this is predicated on the formulation of the psyche that Jung put forward, which is that it is inherently dissociative and that actually there are many parts to us.
Okay, and also as well, I'll be doing a future video kind of about how Greek mythology is kind of woven into the Bible unconsciously. And if you didn't know this, the New Testament was actually written in Greek. It's very dangerous to get into myths, kind of leading into the third rule here. The Bible, viewed through the teachings of the Catholic Church, reveals perfect order of symbols and archetypes through which man must align himself in harmony with divine truth. I guess too, you could also say, they say the Bible's the greatest story. You could say that because it contains all the symbols and archetypes of every other story that has been told. If you didn't know this, the word symbol in the Greek means thrown together. Kind of tie in with that. So moving on, we have the fourth rule here, which is that any disharmony creates inversion. And I'm going to put that Bible verse, how you turn things upside down. Okay. All right, so when engaging with the DSI, you basically have three options, or I like to call them the three C's. Put them here. We're going to start with the first one. This is competes or competition. The symbols and archetypes, they can compete with one another, but at the end of the day, you're either going to have something like totalitarianism or a complete collapse and destruction of everything. Two, we have collapse. Basically, there's no effort at all to try to bring things into harmony. Everything just kind of collapses. I guess kind of like a form of liberalism, if you will. Like desolation, you could call it. The third, that would be collaborate. That would be to make an effort to bring the symbols and archetypes into balance. Kind of tying in with the third rule. They must be brought into balance through the teachings of the Catholic Church. Any other sort of union is it's gonna be some sort of chaos or something like that. It's not gonna be good. Okay. So moving on here, I guess you could say, if you want to better understand what it means to collaborate, we are going to go ahead and use the word asceticism. Now, asceticism is the practice of self-discipline and voluntary self-denial for the sake of spiritual growth, purification, and union with God. Union with God could also symbolize bringing these symbols and archetypes into balance. Now, this will be the hardest form of work you will ever do in your life. If you don't believe me, just ask anyone that is genuinely trying to do it. Okay, so kind of tying in with the final goal of asceticism here, we will quote this verse from the Catholic Church. They don't tell you this. Probably don't hear this a lot in Christianity, but I guess you could say this is the primary goal. Read that. Okay, so moving on here, we are going to do what I call a DSI example here, kind of correlating with the laws of it. So the first one about how symbols and archetypes dominate reality. We are going to use the swastika. Now, everyone knows that the swastika was used to represent Nazi Germany. Okay, it will make more sense when we do the inversion of the inversion, or the right way. So we're going to put the swastika there representing Nazi Germany. The next one, kind of corresponding with the law about the Greek language, we're going to use the word Holocaust. If you translate that into the Greek, it means something like a burnt sacrifice or Jewish sacrifice. So we're going to use that word there. And for the next one here, we're going to use the Jews as the scapegoat. Okay. Makes sense of that. So now moving on here, we're going to kind of invert that and break it down more. So we have this symbol here, which is not inverted. This symbol was used all over ancient cultures. It was used to symbolize something like good fortune or harmony. It was also used in Christianity as well, some ancient Christianity, to symbolize Christ's victory. The next one, for Holocaust, we're going to put how Jesus became a sacrifice, kind of symbolizing the Holocaust there. And then the next one, we're going to put how Christ was the scapegoat. So we're going to put these two verses here. You can kind of do the math on how Christ was the scapegoat. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, kind of looking through the lens of DSI, how things have been inverted. So I guess you could say in one sense, if Jews remembered Jesus, we wouldn't have to remember the Holocaust. Okay, so moving on here, this is what I'd like to call the real final solution, if I could best summarize it. That would be bringing forward the memory of Christ, learning to unite your sacrifices with His, because at the end of the day, reality is built on the sacrifices you believe in. Kind of what I said earlier about if the Jews remember Jesus, we wouldn't have to remember the Holocaust. Okay. Soak that in there. All right, now just talk a little bit more about asceticism here. Anyone that is genuinely engaged in it, they will probably tell you the hardest part about it is trying to believe the people or the shepherds of the church are actually looking out for your best interests and feeding the sheep and actually doing their job. So looking through the lens of the DSI again, I'm going to, well, first I'm going to put this verse here. And if you didn't know this, the Pope is symbolized by Peter in his job symbolically. That would be to feed the sheep. If he's not doing that, well, I'm going to play this clip here, and I'll let you do the math through the DSI. So go ahead and play that clip, and you can do the math.
Today, we can no longer delude ourselves by thinking that the consequences of our failures impact only those who are hidden out of sight. The hungry faces of so many who still suffer challenge us and invite us to re-examine our lifestyles, our priorities, and our overall way of living in today's world.
Okay, so now I'm going to close with this Bible verse here, kind of about what asceticism is really about. It's not against flesh and blood, but the principalities and powers and the rulers and darkness of the world. And also, fun fact, the Greek word for ruler is archon, that will make more sense when I play this closing clip here. So go ahead and read that, and I'll play this closing clip.
This, in effect, is very much the feeling of what they describe as an archon world, because the archons have no creativity as humans do, and therefore their world is stark and ugly and uniform. This is another wonderful symbolic picture of an archon world, an archon reality. And that's because these writings say they have no, I think the direct translation is no intentionality. I put it another way, no creative imagination. And the writings from best part of 2,000 years ago make it clear that they envy humans who have this creative imagination, this ability to create. Like I say, they describe the archons as cyborgs, a robotic race that can imitate but not innovate. They call it, in a translated word, counter-mimicry. Put simply, if you gave them a blank sheet of paper, they would know what to do with it. But you give them a sheet of paper, rather, with something on it, with something created on it, and they are able to distort it and twist it. But they can mimic and imitate, they cannot create in that sense. Mind parasites, they possess the mind and influence the mind in a negative way, particularly in a negatively emotional way. The one word they say that can absolutely describe the archons is deception. And also they say that one of their great means of operation, modus operandi, is to invert everything. That's what they're doing, counter-mimicry. They are inverting what is already created so it becomes something else. And it's no accident that one of the great forces that worship these archons within human society, what we call Satanism, use inversion as part of its symbolism. The inverted cross, the inverted five-pointed star. And so I've used this quote before in talks, and from this archontic perception, it becomes even more relevant. Michael Elner, who said, just look at us. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health. Lawyers destroy justice. Universities destroy knowledge. Governments destroy freedom. The major media destroy information. And religions destroy spirituality. Everything inverted.